Yeah.
Hello, my name is Lisa Lambert. I teach 6th grade PE at Malibu High School. This is my 10th year at the school. I'm also known as cancer patient number 1. I was the first teacher at Malibu High School to be diagnosed with thyroid cancer 3 years ago this month. At the time of my diagnosis, I was also diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroid disease. I want you to know that I'm exposed to high levels of PCBs despite the fact that our district employees and their lawyers insist otherwise. Will you finally keep me safe? I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of the clean, then test, then realize it's high, clean again, and in some instances, realize it's still high and clean a third time to get a test result that says I'm safe. Then the PR person can send the message to the families that says, indeed, the school is safe. Do not worry. I do worry. I worry that the air in my office sits at 180 when the EPA says anything over 200 is unsafe. I worry because it took 2 professional cleanings to get the air at 180. Do you remember the pictures of the girls' locker room showers? The same person is cleaning my office. My body is sensitive to PCBs. I've had thyroid cancer, Hashimoto's thyroid disease, and because of complications during surgery, my vocal cord was paralyzed for 6 weeks. I still have half a thyroid. They could not perform the surgery to remove the second half of the thyroid because of the vocal cord injury, which would reduce the risk of thyroid cancer coming back. Being exposed to PCB is a real risk for me. Sandy Lyon promised to source test my office, then backed out after the lawyer stated not to test source anymore, so it wouldn't have to be removed. Independent testing reveals illegal levels in room 722, but the district remediated the wrong side of the building and blamed America Unites for giving them the wrong information. So I still sit in the same office with the same PCBs and the same dirt, but now add the filth from the mice poop and urine that nobody will clean up unless they get overtime hours. Enough money has been spent on lawyers covering up what is happening in Malibu. Does anybody care about us? Do the right thing, get rid of PCBs. If Sandy's not willing to make that order, then bring someone in who will protect us. No level of PCB is safe. If you want to believe test results that happen after professional cleaning, when over 33 teachers sent you a letter stating that the cleaning is not happening, then maybe it's time for you to step down and let someone come up that will protect us. Sorry. It's been too long. I have 2 little boys that need me as a mother. This situation has brought so much stress and anxiety to my family. My husband works at the school, I work at the school, and both my kids will be students at the school next year. It's time for me to get back to being a parent and an educator instead of having to fight to have a safe place to work and a safe place for my kids to go. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christine Rowland. I was a classroom teacher at Cabrillo for almost 25 years. However, now I am retired. And I am able to speak on behalf of my colleagues who have been bullied into submission and threatened into silence. They've been told to report to work, to keep their questions in check and their illnesses and fears to themselves. Threats of termination, transfer, and even in some cases legal prosecution has been threatened. I am here to be the voice for those who are too frightened to speak out. I am here because I can't be intimidated by threats of job termination. I can't be threatened with transfer from my beloved school as punishment for speaking up. I am a collective voice, representing the pleas from our teachers, your teachers. Listen to them, please. Help them, please. It's been 2.5 years, please. At the least, do one right thing right now. Portable classrooms. We are asking that portables be put on the property as soon as possible, no later than spring break, and those in buildings where PCBs have been found be moved out. That will give the school district plenty of time to figure out what they want to do and how they want to remove the PCBs. The classrooms that have not had source testing yet need to be tested for PCBs no later than spring break. This is a long battle, and I'm willing to come out to speak for my colleagues. If you're a teacher here this evening willing to step forward or to step up, would you please raise your hand? If you're a person who's just here to support the teachers and this fight, please stand up or raise your hand. Thank you. This long ongoing battle of test results will inevitably come to a conclusion, regardless which experts' findings prevail. These are your teachers, the everyday people in the trenches. They just want to teach without the fear and anxiety of being in harm's way. They are not just educators, they're caregivers to your children. How can you ask them to morally sit in those classrooms where there's potential for harm, knowing that they are putting their students at risk? The comparative costs of portables as well as adequate remediation and repairs to our campuses is nothing compared to the outrageous expenditures already spent by the district to wage a war against their students and teachers. And why? To be proven right? To win the game? I have asked myself these questions over and over again. Porter Ranch schools acted quickly when it was discovered that their teachers and students were at potential risk. They were able to move entire campuses into portables onto other sites. We are being told that the EPA declares your findings safe. Nothing for us to worry about. Well, we've seen that in Flint, Michigan. Residents hold up bottles of brown, smelly water only to be told that it's okay, don't worry. The EPA has its findings. Just look at those findings. Well, we now know how that's shaking out. Are you aware that teachers and staff are still getting sick? I don't think you're really aware of the entire amount of kids and people who are still showing signs and new signs of sickness and illnesses. Lord knows what future health problems we could see in our children as they grow into adults, all because they were forced to remain in poisonous classrooms. The potential civil lawsuits that can come from this will be like a recurring nightmare. Some of you sitting up there are educators yourselves. You are also our elected officials. We sincerely, respectfully ask that you intercede on our behalf. We are not petulant children. We are not elitists in any way. At the least, move our teachers to portable, clean classrooms so that they can continue to do what they are trained and dedicated to do, teach. How many more years will this battle be fought? You have an opportunity to do the right thing, and the right thing to do it now. There's no reason for this to continue. This is common sense. Thank you.
Thank you. So good evening. I'm Julie Jones. I'm in my 17th year teaching at Malibu High School, and my own two children attend Juan Cabrillo. I love what I do, and I love being part of this community, but what I've experienced these last 3 years has been demoralizing. I'm here tonight because I'm sickened by the district's lack of transparency and their inaction when it comes to cleaning our schools and caring for our teachers and students. I've been wondering why there isn't more outrage from parents in our community, and baffled by the union's lack of action in protecting its teachers. And I've come to realize it's because the community can only go by what it's being told by the district, that our schools are safe. It's not true. And you need to know the following two things. One, BMPs, or best management practices, are not going to clean up PCBs. This is because dusting with a wet rag will not eliminate PCBs or exposure to PCBs. And I guess the EPA is concerned about airborne pathways or the dust, so the BMP cleaning's been recommended. But that's problematic because where has the dust been before it settles onto the surface that's going to be clean with the wet rag? It's in the air for us all to breathe for the 6 to 7 hours a day. Furthermore, we teachers are told to clear the surfaces before the BMP cleaning crew comes in. So when we clean the surfaces, we're interacting with the dust and stirring it up and breathing it in. So it's just insulting and kind of ludicrous. It doesn't make sense. Secondly, if you want to believe that BMPs will keep our rooms safe enough to occupy, you should know that they're not happening. In January, 33 teachers signed a letter to the district notifying them that BMPs are not happening. The district acknowledged they're not happening, yet we're still in these contaminated classrooms. The district then wrote to Malibu High and Juan Cabrillo about BMPs on January 25th. And in the letter, the superintendent said that we're going to refresh with staff what BMP is, have a custodial lead check on the BMP crew, and leave a form behind for teachers to note what's been done or not been done. So the very nature of the letter acknowledges that BMPs have not been happening. Please stop saying that our campuses are safe, because we don't know that. The bottom line is we need to be in portables. No more waiting and playing the blame game with the Coastal Commission. We should be in portables while the district figures out what it's going to do to remediate our campuses. Hopefully, our bond measure construction can happen in the very near future, but we can't wait for the Coastal Commission or anybody else to decide our fate. Put us in portables now. Let teachers and students be in healthy and safe classrooms. We deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. My name is Katie Lapine, and I am in my 17th year teaching 8th grade language arts at Malibu High School. For the past 16 years, I have taught in room 5, a room that, according to the district's own testing, has tested over the legal limits for PCBs. While pregnant with both of my daughters, I also taught in that room. I definitely fit the profile for someone who has experienced long-term exposure to a known toxic substance. As I watched custodians sweep my carpet, rather than use a HEPA vacuum cleaner to clean it, and as I watched the dust pile up on all the surfaces in my room, I know that best management practices are not happening in my classroom. I can say with certainty that wet dusting has not happened in my room since August, and that was 6 months ago. Meanwhile, my students and I continue to breathe in and touch dust that even the district has confirmed is toxic. In January of this year, 33 teachers from Malibu High School and Cabrillo Elementary confirmed that best management practices are not being used in classrooms. Many of us at both sites do not feel safe. We worry about ourselves, our students, and our own children who occupy these toxic classrooms. The fear and the anxiety are very real for many of us. At this point, for whatever reason, we have seen that best management practices are not the solution. Please do what's right. Please move us into portables over spring break until we can be safe.
Hello, I'm Carla Bowman-Smith. I'm photography, digital design, and yearbook and AP Studio Art 2 teacher at Malibu High School. I'm reading a report from David O'Carpenter, MD. David received no compensation for doing this report. He's a public health physician, educated at Harvard College and Harvard Medical School. He pursued a career in biomedical research and public health rather than patient care. He served as director for the Wadsworth Center for Laboratories and Research of the New York State Department of Health, and then became founding dean of the School of Public Health for the University of Albany. His present position is director of the Institute of Health for Health and the Environment at the University of Albany. He has worked for NIH, EPA, WHO, ATDSR, IARC, every letter of the alphabet he's worked for. So I'm going to read to you his concluding paragraph, or multiple paragraphs. You also have a copy of this report. PCBs are known human carcinogens according to the World Health Organization. There is clear evidence that 50 parts per million in building materials represents a real health risk, particularly to children. PCBs in indoor caulk lead to PCBs in air, PCBs in the dust, and PCBs migrating from the source material into other surrounding porous materials. The dangers of exposures to PCBs comes from a variety of routes of exposure. Until the PCBs are identified, mitigated, and removed, students and teachers will not be protected from their harm. Based on the air, dust, and materials testing that he has reviewed, students and teachers at the Malibu elementary, middle, and high schools are exposed to dangerous levels of PCBs continuously from many different exposure pathways every moment they spend at the school. This means the students and staff have had long-term exposure. The caulk contamination at the Malibu schools has been known since November 2013 and existed long before that.
Excuse me, is Robin Levy here? Well, I guess if you want to add another couple minutes, because I know she had another one. No? But you're going to give your 2 minutes?
2 minutes to Carla?
Yes, go ahead. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Right.
All right. The toxic body burden in students and teachers is increasing on a daily basis from being at the Malibu schools. Because of this exposure, they are at elevated risk of developing several different diseases. There's overwhelming documentation that PCB levels are excessive and widespread at these schools. Levels in caulk at up to 570,000 parts per million that have been found in the schools greatly exceed the 50 parts per million health regulations requiring removal under federal law. Yet the school has not conducted a proper characterization of the PCB building material, identifying the extent of contamination, and most classrooms building materials that have not been tested. By not identifying the source material, there is no way to protect children from PCB exposure. This means that children and teachers remain in continued serious risk for a variety of adverse health effects. Concentrations in air at Malibu schools are in excess of those which have been shown by peer-reviewed studies to increase the risk of several human diseases and increase body burden. Children whose minds and bodies are developing are especially at risk. No child should be exposed to known and dangerous levels of PCBs, such as those that have been documented within the Malibu schools for even one day, let alone for many years. There is no logical scientific reasoning that warrants the actions of the school district to refuse PCB source identification, removal, and other remedial actions if their goal is to protect the health of children and teachers. There's simply no scientific evidence for the district or their consultants to claim the school is safe based on air and dust testing alone. To date, there is no evidence that proves any level of PCBs in the air is safe. In fact, to the contrary, the few inhalation studies that are available show that even low levels, from 2 to 30 nanograms, cause harm. The school district is misinforming the parents and teachers, which is putting children and teachers' health at risk. With no evidence of safe levels of PCBs in the air, the EPA's PCBs in schools policy on safe air levels is scientifically unsubstantiated and is certainly inadequate to protect children and teachers from the harmful effects of PCBs. I have one more sentence.
Okay, go ahead.
Based on my knowledge of the dangers of PCBs, I would not want my wife, who is a teacher, or my son as a student to work or attend these schools. The PCBs in the Malibu schools must be removed. Thank you.
My name is Susan Beltrucius. I'm a teacher at Juan Cabrillo for more than a decade, and I'm a parent of 4 Juan Cabrillo students. My relationship with the school goes back about 30 years. But that's a long time, but 2 years is a long time too. And during that time, we have watched our coworkers get ill, and then we've watched our students pulled out of our classrooms by parents who are not willing to take chances with their children's health. And, you know, we've attended meetings, we've listened to the numbers that the experts have put out, and, you know, we've moved forward in this situation in the spirit of trust. We trusted the district to be looking out for our well-being. We trusted the facts that they gave us, and that they were doing the best that they could. And we've heard things being said, you know, we're doing everything the EPA asks. Everything that the EPA asks may sound like you're doing a lot, and maybe you're even doing the max. But look at it another way. It sounds also like you're doing the bare minimum. Everything they ask, and not one thing extra. And, you know, this has led for us to a huge disappointment and real frustration with the district. And really, our ability to trust you has really declined. And it's tragic to me, because this school means a whole lot to all of us. We're all there because we're dedicated. We're there, you know, in risking what we may be risking our health because we are dedicated to the school. And, you know, the things that we're disappointed about are the slow response that the district has had, their unwillingness to test the source materials. We're really baffled by the idea of testing after cleaning. We're in the room before the cleaning takes place. That we're having that exposure, and to test it after you've cleaned it, anyone who's cleaned a house knows that that's not the way it works. And best management practices, I'm sorry. The scheduling where they tell you you're going to have your classroom cleaned on a Tuesday and they show up Monday night so that you can't do your prep that's required to be done before they do it. They come into the room, they're there for 5 minutes, they're like talking to each other, and then they leave. These kinds of people, so often after I think to myself, I wouldn't pay them to clean my house. I wouldn't, you know, it comes down to real substandard cleaning. And then we have someone come from the district who said, well, we're doing the cleaning because we want to ameliorate risk to the staff. Well, then we are only left to think that if the staff is being risked by bad cleaning, we're at risk because we're getting bad cleaning. Now, you know, the thing that you need to be aware of is our staff continues to get sick. We have our librarian has gotten sick. Our speech pathologist retired early due to thyroid concerns. Our SAI teacher is sick from her exposure in the classroom, and our science lab teacher. Our staff has agreed to voluntarily exit one whole building on our campus at great personal expense in time and inconvenience because the parents are rightfully saying, what are we doing having our children going to this school? And I just see that this whole situation is a threat to our school. We are losing enrollment. You were talking earlier this evening about lower enrollment. We're experiencing it. I've had students pulled out of my class, more than a few, pulled out of my classroom by parents who are like, I'm sorry, I just can't do that to my kid. So please, do something for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lyon and board, again, I'm Beth Lucas. I've been here many times over the last 2.5 years. And in fact, truthfully, I'm very appalled that I'm back here again asking for the same thing. First of all, I'd like to commend all of the teachers for their bravery. They've been afraid. They've been afraid because of the PCBs, but they've been afraid of retaliation. And so I hope that none of that happens, because they've been brave enough to stand up and tell their stories and tell you how afraid they are and tell you how sorely and sadly the best management practices that you keep telling us are keeping us safe, that they are failing. Okay, so to step back, since the fall of 2015, each and every one of you have known that there were 31 EPA certified tests in 25 classrooms. 25 additional classrooms are highly toxic. Previously, a year or so ago, when independent tests were done, Sandra, you then had Environ go and do additional independent testing, or their testing, which confirmed that. Why didn't you do that this time? I don't understand. Why did you switch gears? These are valid tests. I know it, you know it, everyone in this room knows it. So I feel personally that you have shirked your responsibility, your ethical responsibility, to immediately, at that time in the fall, as soon as you heard about these results, you should have put the children, teachers, and staff in portables. You should have done it 2.5 years ago. Why is this dragging on? This isn't a personal battle. It isn't a vendetta. We just want to be safe. You heard from my son, Christian. I asked him to come tonight, by the way. He said, why should I come? They didn't listen to me the last time. They just sit there. They don't listen. They don't care. They don't care that I had cancer and that I don't want to get cancer again. They don't care that I'm going to be a senior next year and I can't go back to my school because my doctor says it's still not safe. That should be appalling to you. It's appalling to me. Instead of doing the right thing, you took the cowardly approach and a corrupt approach of filing false vandalism charges against parents. Why did you do this? To divert attention from the fact that we have a highly toxic school? It's toxic, Sandra. It's toxic, board members. You all know it. And if you think it's not toxic, why aren't you going back and testing like you did the first time we had independent tests? I don't understand. No one in this room understands. My children don't understand. Then you even lied about the amount of the alleged damage of this alleged vandalism. You said it was $100,000. It's ludicrous. That number has been downgraded to $5,000, which is probably still way too high. And you have spent millions and millions of dollars on this issue, and you spent over $100,000 to find out that $5,000 was this alleged damage amount. It's ridiculous. And it's so appalling, this gross negligence of expenditure of our money, taxpayers' money. It's appalling to me. These tests are valid. They were validated by an EPA-approved testing facility. And if you don't believe that, why aren't you doing the right thing? So I am imploring you again to please do the right thing. Immediately move teachers, children, and staff into portables. Immediately do the only test that has a federal law behind it, which is the source testing. And please immediately fix our school. I want my son to finish his senior year at Malibu High. He wants to be there. Please do the right thing.
Droger?
Thank you. Hello, board. I'm Hope Edelman. First, I want to say, teachers, Lisa, you guys are angels. You are our angels who show up every day to teach our children. Board members, I hope you heard them tonight, and I hope you'll listen to them. I'm here to tell you about two things that I'm not sure you know about. The first is that at the last board meeting I attended, I heard a board member, when asked why a parent was brought under police investigation and if the charges could be dropped, I heard a board member say, it's out of our control. It's in the hands of the DA's office. It's up to them. And that sounds reasonable, except after the DA made its decision, James Furnow of Fagan Friedman and Fulfrost wrote to the DA's office trying to get them to change their mind. I don't know if you're aware of that. By the looks on your faces, it appears you may not be. But a letter was written on behalf of all of you as board members of this district dated on December 18th, 2015, to the DA's office in Van Nuys, saying, in reviewing your stated rationale for declining to file charges, the district is compelled to respond to a perceived lack of objectivity and attention to detail in arriving at this decision. This letter was released recently. It talks about how the DeNicolas, Matt, and Jen damaged areas that had been repaired and encapsulated as part of the remedial action, which in fact is false. Matt DeNicola was never on campus that day, and he can prove it. What we do know, however, is that lawyers from Pillsbury questioned teachers at Cabrillo, showed them Matt's picture as much as 6 times, asking if they were sure he was not the one on campus. And in fact, if you see the police report from the Malibu Sheriff's Office, you will see that he was never inconclusively identified. However, this letter clearly states that the DeNicolas damaged areas that had been repaired. A little over a week later, the DeNicolas were observed on the school campuses. So there's a letter from your attorney that represents the district going to the DA's office, accusing them of a lack of objectivity, a lack of attention to detail, and naming someone who wasn't even involved in the alleged crime. Something else I want to tell you, and I don't know if you're aware of this either, is that at around the same time in mid-December, there were mediation hearings that went on between the district and America Unites. And I'm speaking from firsthand information because I attended those hearings. And a settlement agreement was given to Malibu Unites, and a counter agreement was given. I don't know if the board is aware or has seen that counter agreement, because since the middle of December, we haven't heard any response whatsoever. And if you haven't heard about this letter to the district attorney's office, and if you haven't heard about this settlement offer and a counter offer rather, not agreement, excuse me, a counter offer was given. If you haven't heard about this counter offer, I implore you to ask why not. Why haven't you heard about it? Because the board has the power to make a decision about that. This all could have been handled 2 months ago, and we wouldn't be here tonight, because America Unites was willing to settle and come to some kind of agreement. And it's 2 months, and we haven't heard anything back. Thank you.
Good evening, board. In case you don't remember me, I'm Larry Drager. I'm a parent of 2 teenagers at Malibu High. It's been now over 2 years that this has been going on, and it occurred to me that somebody from the outside might look in at this show and say, why do these people that are here in the audience that have been getting up and talking to you, why do we keep coming back to a board that obviously isn't listening, doesn't care, and isn't willing to do the right thing? And my answer to that person that asked that question would be that what we're doing here is we're building a record, a long and detailed record. Because when this is all done, when we get to the other end of it, and everything has been said and done, and when the science, the true science that you have a copy of up there is on the table, it's going to be crystal clear to everybody how horribly wrong it is to leave our children, our teachers, and our staff in classrooms that are contaminated with toxic poison. And when we get to that clarity, each of you, are going to be held accountable. You're going to be held accountable for the teachers, each of the teachers that have gotten up in front of you and said all we care about, all we want is a safe place to teach, that you've ignored. You're going to be held accountable for the children that you've left sitting feet away from toxic poison that is known to be a carcinogen. And you're going to be held accountable for going to the sheriff's department and reporting a concerned parent that is just trying to do the right thing, and then going to federal court and having a judge issue an order trying to get money sanctions against her just for doing the right thing. Each of you, all of you, will be held accountable. Thank you.
Hello, most of you know who I am. I'm the other guy on the other side of the lawsuit. And man, you guys got some expensive attorneys, and I know because I've been asked to pay their bill, which is okay, because at the end of the day, if this is what you guys need to find a martyr, to find somebody to hang because they did the right thing, you got to do what you got to do if you can sleep at night. But I will tell you, these are brave teachers. And the group here in Malibu has been protecting them and doing the best we can, and haven't, unfortunately, they had to come forward tonight. I mean, at some point, they've got to speak for themselves. And, you know, you can throw anybody under the bus you want. It's cool. We can take it. You know, we're not going away anytime soon. So until you do the right thing and fix it, Flint, Michigan's a prime example. I grew up in Michigan, so it's kind of near to my heart. And for a while, I was like, man, why are we fighting this? Why are we fighting this? And then you start watching the news of all the bad stuff going on in the world, and you realize there's got to be people that fight this, because there's people like you who won't. I mean, these teachers dedicate every day of their life to teaching our kids. And this David Carpenter, make no mistake about it, he is the leading expert on PCBs. So you can hire these high-flying attorneys in their private jets and these Environ guys wanting to stay in high-class hotels, and we can pay their bill if Santa Monica School District wants to piss, no pun intended, our money away. And I'm fine, do it. That's your call. At the end of the day, you have to sleep with that. But you know what? We'll continue to fight until you do the right thing, because David Carpenter's no joke. PCBs are no joke. These teachers who have sicknesses, that's no joke. At the end of the day, when kids start coming forward with sicknesses, which there are some, it's going to be a bigger lawsuit. I cannot believe that there's only a couple guys up there. And Oscar, God bless you, man. The stuff you've had to put up with to try to make things right. I can't believe there's nobody else on the board other than Craig who's willing to stand up and do the right thing. I thought Richard would be the man. You know, professor at a college, kind of gets it. I'm shocked, but, you know, we'll continue to fight. Don't think we're going away just because, you know, some high-priced attorney said something.
I'm Jennifer DeNicola, as you all know. And, you know, I wasn't going to speak tonight, but what I have to do is really not tell you guys what needs to be done. These are the bravest people I've ever met. And there's many of them that can't be here tonight because instead they're doing their first opening night of a play. There's 10 teachers that were supposed to be here. And instead, they're teaching our kids what it is to be a community. There's parents here that stood up last minute when I called at 4 o'clock and said, hey, teachers are coming. Will you show up? And they all showed up. This is really important, you guys. You know, we said this a long time ago. There's a way to solve this. We've offered it. We've offered our help. David Carpenter is one that we chose of all the scientists that are helping us. There's a reason he's doing this for free, and Harvard's doing this for free, and the University of Iowa is doing this for free, and University of Illinois, and Massachusetts. And I can keep going on and on. It's because what you guys are doing are wrong, and it's time to change it. Right now, I don't know what's going on with you, Sandy, but this is not a pissing match. This is about real people. These are their faces, guys. This matters. Congress did not ban PCBs because it was a whim. There is undisputed scientific evidence, and there is nothing that cleaning with wet wipes is going to protect them from. And in face of doubt, if there's a 1%, a 0.01% chance that there's a risk, get them out of those rooms. And I'm telling you right now, I have spent 18 hours a day for 2.5 years doing this, talking to every expert from across the world. This is a risk to all of these people. This is a cancer cluster. This is a problem. And it's not your fault that the PCBs are in the school. It's there. Just fix it. Properly identify it. Cleaning the school, testing the air, doing it, manipulating the results is not the right thing, guys.
I have a question. Mr. Nicola, in 1 minute, can you finish your comments, please?
Yes.
Oscar. We've, you know, I think if we want to, I mean, it's open, and if we have clarifications after this, that's all we really need to know. I mean,
do you have any final comments
I
to
do.
complete
Guys,
your...
This is time to change things. You know what? You know, dirt's been thrown, things have happened, but these are our children, and these are the people that educate them, and they're people that we love, and you guys got elected to protect. And we can fix this. 2 more of you need to make a decision that this is not okay anymore. No one's to blame. We just need to fix this. You're lucky you don't have any big, huge toxic tort lawsuits right now because you didn't do the right thing. So let's stop this now.
Thank you.
Let's stop this
Superintendent,
so it doesn't happen.
thank you. We've heard you. Thank you. I know.
So I'm going to skate out onto the thin ice of what I can say here, and I'm going to try to honor everybody in how I do this. I heard something. I mean, it's always been present, but I hope everybody on the board could hear tonight the human voice of this problem we all have. And I know
the last thing I want to say, I just want to thank all the teachers and parents, in particular the teachers that I've heard from many parents in the past, but I haven't heard from so many teachers, and so I just want to thank you all very much for having the courage to speak up. And I just want to let the teachers know that I stand with you. That even if I have to stand by myself or with 2 or 3 or 4, I don't care how many people we need, but I just want to let you all know that I'll stand with you. And if there's any threats, especially for anyone speaking up, they're talking about whatever illnesses they have, what I heard tonight and what I've heard in the past. So this isn't just the first time that I hear this, but I know that there is someone, I don't know who is making the threats, but I would like to know. And I would like to make an issue of it because I don't think that we should go into environments that are potentially harmful to our health, but especially in public education in places where ideas and the word should be protected, where we have freedom of speech, that anybody should be threatened for speaking up. So I know that many of you spoke up today. And if you feel that anyone is threatening you or trying to bully you in any way, please, reach out to me because I would be the first one to make an issue of it and to stand with you to ensure that these people do not get away with that type of behavior. Thank you very much.